want you to do what we believe. We just want you to do what we believe. We just want you to do what we believe.
Well, hello everyone. That was Babyland with Mindfuck, actually a song I can quite relate to. um, Fun band. I don't know. They're kind of hit or miss for me, mainly because they were one of those bands. There was a short wave of time in which I guess it was kind of considered punk industrial. And no, hear me out on this because it isn't what you'd think. It wasn't actually meshing old school punk music with industrial. It was taking the punk aesthetic of DIY do it yourself. So usually they'd only have like one or two instruments that were synthesizers and they'd build everything else. So they were hit and miss in that a lot of their music sounds like just a lot of fucking noise because they really did go out of their way to like make, beat on trash cans, oil drums, instead of sampling power drills, instead of sampling machines. They'd bring the machines on stage or into the studio and play them live to the music. So they weren't necessarily on beat sometimes. But let me tell you, it did make for one hell of a good show live because they'd haul this crap out on the stage and just tear it to shreds, and they'd actually have the oh god, it was the electric sander, or I forget what, shooting sparks straight into the audience, and glasses breaking. So yeah, instead of actually sampling all that stuff, they did it for real. Anyway, now there's six of you. I was going to play a ChemLab track to give it a little bit more time, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Eh. Oh, that's Final Fantasy. That is Bianca Bucamp. And let me get you a spelling. Yes, that lovely, lovely Lara Croft at the thumbnail. is this lovely lady. So you wanna come on, bar one? Any specific topic? I was actually going to kind of piss and moan a bit about why the Ridiculum anthology is not on Amazon yet, but we can talk about other stuff. Um, yes, let's get down to business. Let's get some business done first before we open it up. But yeah, I'll send you an invite in a minute. Bar one. You're going crazy, huh? Okay, well, I'll send you an invite in a minute. Let me just take care of some business first. Now, I had told you all that I should have an anthology ready for you in like in soon. And oh, come on, where the hell is the cover? Did I erase the cover? What the hell did I do that? There it is. I had told you last week this would be available this week, and it should be available. I mean, I did everything fucking right. I followed every rule. Usually when people publish public domain work on the internet or on Amazon, they don't even bother with printing the rights and all the stuff you're supposed to. They just like throw it up there and charge money for it. No, I went to the trouble of citing all my sources and crediting all the correct people, and Amazon is giving me shit. Yeah, they're giving me shit, and they're saying that there was something wrong in the byline and title. They won't tell me what it was, but they said that they weren't going to put it up. It's still in review because, yeah, we suspect they don't like the title. They had said they thought the title was confusing, but they also said that the byline was confusing, which I don't understand why. The byline is 01 Publishing. So anyway, we're fighting with Amazon. This really should not be a problem. This should be available by now. But I guess it's going to be kind of a window into how working with Amazon will be for publishing public domain materials. I guess they're dicks. I don't know. I almost get the sense that it's more of an issue of somebody over there just doesn't want to do their job. Is it the cover? Who knows? Maybe. But yeah, they were complaining that they thought the title was confusing and the byline was confusing. And I can't really understand why. I mean, ridiculum means ridiculous in Latin. So I don't see how that's confusing. It says humorous pulp sci-fi classics. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then the authors are listed down at the bottom. Again, self-explanatory. Okay, Yang says, I think Amazon has two problems under the title. Yeah, it could be that simple, as they don't like the attractive woman on the cover. But it's pulp silliness. I mean, why wouldn't it have some green space girl with a zapper riding a rocket? I don't know. It's kind of annoying. I am 2/3 through Yegi Lamplighter's The Unexpected Enlightenment of Rachel Griffin. Very good. Light change after much Lovecraft. Good sort of thing to read for a young audience. Yeah, and I'm glad that she's doing that. To be honest with you, I've thought about writing young adult fiction because I think there needs to be young adult fiction. But for the life of me, I can't do it. I mean, every time I've tried to write something that was like PG-13 or, PG, bar one, here's a link. No one else can click this. I'll only let bar one in unless you've got a really good reason. Maybe I'll let one other person in, but here, bar one, here's the link. But yeah, I tried writing a PG book, and I just couldn't. It just immediately went into how. There, bar one.
Hey there. Can I reverse the camera on my thing?
Are you
Otherwise,
on a
gonna
bus?
turn around the. Yes, I'm on a bus tour. Hey, everybody, say hi to Ishi. Yeah, this guy's got blood all over his face.
Yeah, period blood.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Ishi.
We're over at the Haunted
Well, thank you
Hotel
very
in
much. Well,
Kentucky.
you can fuck you too as well.
He says fuck you too as well.
I earned my red wing.
Okay, which one of you said fuck you?
I think it was her. I think it was the one with the beer.
Oh, the one with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Cruella
this-
de Vil hair? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, Cruella de Vil hair. Yeah, this is we're at Fear Expo on the haunted bus tour. We're
That's
at our
cool.
we're at our fifth stop of the evening. Which across the street here you can see the haunted hotels. They are open during the off season. We're going to go through. They're going to smack us around and skip right in us. So that's what I'm kind of doing with my weekend.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, you're a little distorted and hard to hear. I'm kind of curious that you keep focusing on Cruella back there,
But I try to get the this creepy old building, and we're kind of in downtown Kentucky.
Kentucky, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
This was thoroughly unexpected. You said you were on a weekend and going crazy.
Yeah. I'm on a crazy bus tour. I haven't dipped into like they've been giving us free shots and let's see what is and blood cherry pie cocktail. Yeah. It's
Well,
hey if you have another nothing stream like Saturday, I might be on the showroom floor. I'll show you some footage from that of all the props and stuff. That's because this is one of those conventions where the haunters, the people who run haunted attractions, like all those big haunted houses. And over in New York. This is where they buy their masks, their props. We got some other people here like Little Spider Creation. Yeah. Oh, let me show the shirt. Show the shirt. Yeah, we got Dead Graves FX props. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame Kat isn't with me right now. She watches a lot of this stuff.
Yep, I'm rocking some Spirit Halloween hat. Haunted former terror, the deed, rocking the deed there for gotta represent Detroit when you're in town. But yeah, that's what I'm up to, my man.
That's cool. That is very cool. So all these people on the bus, or just most of them are people who do haunts?
Yeah, most of the people here on the bus here are people who are enthusiasts, sometimes bloggers, or people who.
Huh? What's going on here?
We're being told it's an extreme haunt.
Well, this was not what I expected for a stream, but it's quite entertaining.
I got a guy who looks like Rob Zombie. He's like a bus tour guy.
Dracula.
Okay, let's see if we can go solely out of this.
Oh, we're getting off the bus.
Huh. I don't think we've ever done a live on the spot show. I mean, we've discussed it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Lindsay. What's your blog again? What is it? Haunted Honeymooners.
Sorry, are you live right now?
Yes. We are live. I'm live with J.Ishiro Finney.
Haunted Honeymooners, okay.
First 2022, Fear Expo, HauntCon, and that's the convention that we're at right now live.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know that Kat actually watches a lot of the channels done by haunters, and that's where she makes a lot of her props and learns ideas, is watching these people.
Oh, yeah, I remember that Vampire Hunter D prop that
Yeah.
she was making.
But she's got a human-sized Grim Reaper that she wants to start making. So,
Yeah. Sorry.
So, audience, what do you think of this so far?
We're going to get off the bus and we're going to get a good look at this motley crew.
All right.
In a second, we've already been through the Waverly Asylum, which was a tuberculosis asylum. So they have a sanatorium, yes, the Waverly Sanatorium. And
Extreme side. What side?
Well, I
they're
am
gonna call it.
envious. I wish I was there.
Extreme side.
Yeah.
What side?
Let's see where this is going. All right.
Yeah, we're divvying up because they apparently go extreme at this one.
Extreme. That's all you need to know. Extreme.
I don't know.
Extreme side.
Did you know you
Oh, there's Cruella.
You guys drove from New York, 10-hour drive. That's only about a couple of hours
Hey,
more than
what's
I
your
drove
channel,
down.
Cruella?
What side? Extreme side.
Okay.
I want to go to her channel and harass her now.
On a date ride. Welcome back, hey ride. Yep. Yeah, but you can see like Pennyroyal Farm. A lot of these places are. A lot of people here are work professionally on other haunted attractions, and that's kind of the charm of doing this. We can all see like how other people operate theirs and what goes in. Like I said, we were at a sanatorium for people with tuberculosis and stuff. So there was a death chute that we were walking down at one point, where they tried to keep, when they were moving the bodies out, they would keep them. You had a two-sided elevator, so people wouldn't have to see wheeling a dead body off into the morgue areas. They had this chute that had a back direct access to what used to be a train track, so people could. So basically, you're ill there. You didn't have to see people being, dying and being wheeled out dead.
Well, you're in a part of the country where they have those old sanitariums that were really, really screwed up, but we don't have anything like that out here.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, what was it? They used to. Tuberculosis and you're in Arizona now, man. That was where, Teddy Roosevelt went when he came down with TB, because the dry air was actually really better for your lungs. Yeah, look at this.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, they're open. For these bus tours, they'll be open during the off season. A lot of places started this stuff, as a go-to. At the a lot of people, places started doing Valentine's Day weekends and stuff during the off season, and Christmas during the off season. They'll be opening for a limited engagement because people would come through.
So
Especially
do you
for
do any of these haunts?
Oh yeah. I work a haunt in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've worked actually 2 haunts. I've been an actor at one, and I'm a game master on the escape rooms at another.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're going to get to be part of the tour, everyone.
Let's see, if they allow us to record, yeah, we'll.
Oh shit!
Yeah, they're ready. They're gonna touch you at this haunt. Oh, she's on the camera.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, this is gonna be an interesting evening.
So how long is this going on?
It's we're gonna be in Owensboro, Kentucky the rest of the weekend. That's just for the shopping and buying. The bus tour is a one-day thing. Sometimes they'll have 2-day bus tours. If you look up I think it's Ultimate Haunt Tours or Ultimate Haunt Tour, you'll find they'll usually do an off season or after season, in November, early November they'll have another bus tour. It's a different series of haunts. No, not yet.
Okay. Okay, it's kind of getting hard to hear you at this point.
Okay.
But
Well, you can drop.
Hey, well, thanks for dropping in for a minute. This was cool.
Thanks. You're welcome, man. It's always fun to be it's always fun to say hi to you and Kat and be on the show and stuff
Well,
and all these fine people.
I had no idea you did these haunts. That is something Kat's really, really into. We should bring you on
Yeah,
to talk about it.
I come to live for the Halloween season. I really it's really a blast. It is a totally unique form of entertainment.
It's one of the
Nothing
few where
quite
you're
like it.
actually getting out of the house.
And it's funny is it's customer service here means at a haunt means you're screaming at people and being mean to them and stuff and try to fight the bejesus out of. They don't let you do that in any other form of job.
Your sole purpose is to harass and scare the hell out of people.
Like now this guy is just like he's just off the street, man.
Well,
So it's like, hey, well, you can get back to topic.
yeah, well, tell you what, if something interesting happens, drop back in.
Okay.
Take care, man.
Later.
Okay. So that was interesting. Not expected, but interesting. Anyway, complete derailment there. What's going on? What was I talking? Oh, I was talking about the fact that Amazon sucks ass and is being very disagreeable with this anthology. Oh well, I don't know. I'll keep arguing. I really hope I won't have to change the cover if that really is their issue. I mean, you see some of the books that are in the erotica and romance section. It's like JEC's cover is nothing. I mean, seriously. It's like Martian girl with big tits. So what? But in the meantime, give me a topic. I'm still kind of derailed from realizing just that whole that whole segment. Seriously, give me a topic. Anybody? Fuck no. Just rambling. Well, screw it. Does someone else want to drop in? There's still the link up. If you still want to drop in. Oh yeah, this is great radio. So yeah, things have been going good on the writing front. Been continuing, plowing ahead. I was really hoping to get this anthology series off the ground and get a bunch of these out there to you as quick as possible. But that does not look like it's going to be possible with Amazon being dicks. I don't know. Maybe they'll be more agreeable when I do the space adventure anthology. I've found more than I thought I would. We're also going to do a horror anthology. JC recommended a really awesome story, but we've got a few others. It's Three Skeleton Key, which is a classic. There's one about a plague ship, but I know you guys want the space adventures first. So I'm trying to do that one first. Boobs of Steel. I'm going to start publishing it in installments. That's simple. Otherwise, you guys are going to have to wait and wait and wait. And I'm sick of making people wait. What I'd like to do, I wish I could do, is find some sort of either libertarian or conservative magazine or journal online that would host the chapters for me until the book's published. And I could just do them as a series. But I have no idea where to even begin with that. And I mean, do people even read magazines or online sources anymore? Or do they all want it to be video? I will mention that I've finished an anthology of Lesnar stories that contain a logic named Joe. Oh, you have? What's the name of it? Of the anthology you did? Vox Day's site. Here's the thing with Vox Day. John, he's a really good friend of John De La Rosa's. He's done a lot of good things for a lot of people. So on that one end, I really can't complain. Can't say that I'm a fan of him being a magnet for controversy, but on the other hand, it works for him. He sells stuff. People know who he is. And that is one way to get ahead, is controversy. Here is what the one problem I have with Vox, and this is public knowledge. I don't think anyone will have any issue with what I'm about to say. We were in talks to do Case File Arkham reprinted through, was it Castelia House, I believe, is the name of his publisher. And everything was good. And I even did some spec work with him to help him out. And then the moment we asked some questions about the contract, he stopped talking to us and stopped returning our emails. And it was simply Kat doing due diligence and asking questions about the contract he gave us. And the moment she wanted to know things about the contract, he wouldn't talk to us. So it's not that we didn't, I mean, we were even fucking referred to him by Nick Cole. And I mean, Nick Cole's big time now with Galaxy's Edge. So, I mean, it wasn't even like we weren't like some nobody who approached him out of the blue. I mean, Nick Cole had recommended us. But fuck, I don't know if any of you guys know him. If any of you actually have an inside window, maybe you can get an answer to why he just stopped talking to us. I mean, frankly, I don't think we did anything offensive. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm thoroughly baffled. I have no idea what it was. I mean, I don't know. The only other thing that I could possibly think maybe he got cold feet about us is that he was going to take the book, Case File Arkham. He said that they were iffy about it because some of the content, but because the hero is Catholic and it did not bash Catholicism, actually the Catholic hero remains heroic, was why they were going to take it. And he assumed I was Catholic. And I said, well, look, I don't feel right with you assuming the wrong thing. I'll be upfront with you. I'm actually an atheist, but I have a great deal of respect for Catholicism. Or I have a great deal of respect for Christianity, and I think it's vital to our culture. And I told him exactly that. And that's the only other thing I could think was maybe he decided he didn't want an atheist on board. I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I wish I did because, frankly, I think Case File Arkham would have been a great fit for his company, and we could have used the distribution when, especially because, this was right when everybody went woke and we lost all our contacts and no one would talk to us anymore. If we had gotten onto Castelia House, that would have meant a whole new audience would know who we were. And we would have been able to weather, or 01 would have been able to weather the storm a lot better than we did when, basically the woke people screwed us and almost killed our business. But yeah, I've had other people suggest Vox, and I tried, guys. It's not like I didn't. Logic name no. Forward by Eric Flint. Oh, nice. Oh, you titled it. Okay. So was it a Logic named Joe and Other Stories? Let me check that out. Now, I love that story. It's prophetic for one thing, and it's fucking hilarious. Let me check it. The other one that I really like by him is the Lifeboat Mutiny. Oh wait, no, that's not Sheckley. That's Sheckley, not Linster. Leinster. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Okay, Eric Flint. Oh, you read it? It's an audiobook? Jeez, man, I didn't know that you do readings. That's good to know. That is very good to know. Let's listen. I'm going to listen to an audio sample. You guys won't be able to hear it, unfortunately. But let's hear it. Not bad. Well, I may not be able to get my anthology up right now, but here. Oh, let me. Here is a link to Bar One's anthology, which has a Logic named Joe and other stories in it. And at least maybe you can give him some support. And yeah, the audio is pretty good. Oh, you did this cover? The one with the kangaroo? Yeah, this kept popping up in my searches. I didn't realize you did this one, dude. Here, I'll share the screen in a second. I will ask, why didn't you draw one of draw the cover since you've got art skills? I mean, that you went for Photoshop instead. You went through Bain Books on this? Yeah, let me share screen. So yeah, here we go. Not bad. My only thing is I've seen your artwork, and I think your artwork would have been better than the Photoshop. That's just my personal opinion. No, I would not say your voice is terrible, Eric. I've listened to plenty of LibriVox that have made great stories pain. All right. Oh, you didn't read it? I didn't do the read on that. I just read the. Oh, okay. So you have an actor on that. Well, sounded good. Yeah, I can't read my own stuff either. I'm a terrible orator. So did you have any trouble, or it says here you went through Bain Books? How'd you get that set up? All right. So I'm going to go through your comments. Going through. Oh, Bain Books is having a fantasy adventure award competition. Okay. Going through your comments. Going through your comments. Maybe a Vox Day site. Okay, you had brought that up. Writing question: what's the biggest difference in dynamics in writing a mech fight opposed to soldiers in fighting, ground soldiers fighting? Sorry, hard to understand. I've been smoking. What have you been smoking? That's a great question, Marco, because right now with Siege Engine, as I said, I was moving ahead with Siege Engine at pulp speed and having a great time doing it. But now I'm actually writing a detailed mech fight, and it came to a crawl. Suddenly, pulp speed went bye-bye. And I would say the reason for this is that I'm being a kind of a perfectionist. The first thing you'd have to cover is what kind of mech battle are you having? Are you having a fictional mech battle, or are you having a realistic mech battle? It's kind of weird that I've got this apeshit story in Siege Engine, but I want the mech combat to be believable. So hold on, I'll be right back. One thing I noticed when I was studying how other people handled mech battles was either it was kind of like super robot stuff, where it was essentially the mechs were like Godzilla, fighting in cities, but then there were also ones like BattleTech, where they feign realism, but there's nothing really realistic about the mechs in BattleTech whatsoever. They're pretty much, indestructible behemoths that can only be stopped by other mechs. But here, I'll show you how I've been approaching it, and we'll see what you guys think. This is chapter 2. So getting back to that shit show on Venus I was telling you about, like I said, we were screwed. No evac, no fire support, no secondary force coming to bail us out. And we were about to be overrun by Riba Rojo. Roughly 1.5 clicks to the north, armadillos were pouring out of Pfizer Canyon, all of them taking pot shots at us with their 35 millimeter cannons. From our position at the airstrip, we slagged the first wave from a distance using missiles and mortars, a tactical advantage that lasted all of 10 minutes. After that, we were left to our guns: Gatling, laser, plasma, railgun. All line of sight weapons, nothing we could arc into the canyon. At that point, I knew we had about 15 minutes before the bastards were on top of us. I'll make that 10. Yeah, see, I'm still changing shit. Now, the logical choice would have been to fall back to a more defensible position. Problem was, there was nowhere to fall back to. Behind us were a few aluminum hangars, a burning fuel depot, and then 30 clicks of desert that ended at a crater wall. The second logical choice would be to hunker down behind what little cover we had and make a last stand. Or we could surrender. Yeah, screw that. So we went for the jackass option. Do something radically dangerous and stupid. Like I said, I had us reenact the charge of the Light Brigade. Now, if you punch Charge of the Light Brigade into the Mogul search engine, it'll tell you Charge. It's the third album of the Christian doom metal band, the Light Brigade, and is regarded by critics as their best work after the Electric Sheeple LP. Meanwhile, if you've attended an Ivy League school, you'll have been taught about how the rapper MC Lord Tennyson battled baklava-clad Soviet ninjas during the Great Crime War of 1973 by staging a rap battle on the mouth of a volcano. And then there's the Bezos AI search engine, which will just try to sell you vintage Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But crack open an actual history book about the Crimean War, and you'll get a different story. In 1854, at the Battle of Baklava, roughly 670 members of the British Light Brigade were given the suicidal order of rushing straight into enemy fire. In the charge, 110 men died, another 160 were wounded, and the brigade lost nearly 400 of its horses. Despite taking rifle and artillery fire from all sides, the Brits managed to storm over enemy lines and slaughter an assload of Russian Cossacks. Still, the Light Brigade didn't hold that ground for very long and were forced to retreat. The irony of it all, the charge should have never happened. It was the result of shit military intelligence and poor communication. Sound familiar? A year later, in 1855, the charge was made famous by poet Alfred Lord Tennyson when he penned The Charge of the Light Brigade. So when I said over the radio, Charge of the Light Brigade, every one of my killers knew the score. If we were going to die, we were going to go out in a blaze of glory. None of us were going to be taken alive. Everybody knew what the Rojos did to prisoners: torture, target practice, then the dinner plate. And I'd be damned if I was going to allow that happen to any of my people. Of course, when the Light Brigade made their famous charge, they were 670 men strong. Kane's killers, well, were a small elite force. At the time, we were fielding pre-fire teams: Ailstorm, Scumdog, and Dragula, each being a standard 1-1-2 arrangement of scout, heavy unit, and 2 frontline fighters. So 12 engines in total, up against potentially hundreds of light armored vehicles. Yeah, not exactly great odds. It didn't help that these 6-meter-tall humanoid gun platforms we pilot aren't built for this kind of battle either. This was the kind of fight best left to tanks, artillery, and support aircraft. Contrary to popular belief, siege engines are nothing like those old Japanese animes where a single bot will wade into a city like Godzilla and take on an entire army. No, siege engines are nowhere near as big or indestructible. Fast, agile, armed like an attack helicopter, our machines were designed for urban warfare. With the right pilot, a siege engine can go all the places a tank can't. Rough terrain, 70-degree inclines, anti-armor barricades. The ability to climb and physically move barriers makes all the difference, and at 19 feet tall, any engine can easily disappear behind a single-story building or vanish under a freeway simply by kneeling. The truth is, the squad tactics we use aren't much different from when the infantry guys engaged to house fighting or room clearing operations. It's just a matter of scale. They hide behind walls, we hide behind buildings. They clear rooms, we clear city blocks. And just like infantry, dashing into enemy fire is generally to be avoided. This may lead you to ask, why the hell send a squad of siege engines? Why the hell would a squad of siege engines be ordered to raid an airstrip inside of a crater in the middle of a rust? Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm not a great reader. Why the hell would a squad of siege engines be ordered to raid an airstrip inside a crater in the middle of a rust desert? Answer: because Kane's killers could do something that the tanks and wheeled infantry of Blackie's raiders couldn't, and that is we could scale up and over the crater wall under the cover of a rust storm. Through the electronic eye of the Cyclops, I peered over the horizon, flipped to ×6 magnification. The mouth of the canyon was blazing with smoke and red dust as the second wave of hostiles poured out. Leading the pack were scattered technicals, pickup trucks kitted out with small all-terrain tires and pinion-mounted small arms, essentially fodder. As long as none of them were packing anything over 20 millimeters or an anti-tank missile, they weren't a threat. It was the two columns of Dillos that came thundering behind them that we had to knock out. With their 6 wheels and sloped carapaces cutting silhouettes into the dust and smoke, they began to fire. Strapped in below me, Hildy wrapped her knuckles across my boot. And today was looking like such a good morning, too, she buzzed across the closed circuit. Should I return fire? Nah, let them waste their ammo, I replied. At this range, their aim's for shit. So, let's stick to the plan, okay? Roger that. I glanced over the horizon once more, gauged the enemy's speed. At full sprint, we could close the distance in 3 minutes. I pulled up the comms menu, selected all frequencies. Headhunter to all elements, listen up because we don't have much time here, I said dryly. You all know the score, so I'm not going to bullshit you with some rousing speech about unicorns, kittens, and charging into the jaws of death. We're mercs, goddammit. We all knew chaos and clusterfucks came with the price of admission. No matter what happens today, win or lose, I want to go to my grave knowing we killed as many of these fuckers as humanly possible. And who knows? And who fucking knows? There still may be a chance of us getting out alive. Let me fix this. So in conclusion, I paused for a moment, did a last-minute systems check, then spat, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Let's get out there and kill these assholes. Scumdog 1, are you people ready? Scumdog, weapons hot and ready to trot, over. Copy that, Scumdog. Dragula 1. Are your boys ready? Dragula's good to go. Let's do this, sir. Razzle, you know what you got to do, right? Roger that, headhunter. Don't have to be told twice. Let's fuck their shit up. Over. So anyway, that's what I got so far. And yeah, I'm writing this very much in line with infantry tactics, just on a larger scale. Sometimes people treat mech battles like armor, like tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. And depending on how you want to regard them, that makes perfect sense, especially if they're really, really armored. The way that I'm writing these things are more like Pat Labor. They're very agile. They move like a human does. And the idea is in landscape where the terrain is rough and there's lots of cover, they can operate just like infantry does, just on a larger scale, using buildings and various terrain as cover. And then also they can climb and move objects. So it depends on what you want and how you want to approach these machines. Generally, realism, they often regard the legs as fragile. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. And I specifically made these things 19 feet tall so that they could walk underneath the street lamps without hitting them. And that, all they would have to do is kneel and they can hide behind a house, a single-story building, no problem. But other stories like the ones in Mech Warrior, the mechs are like what 50 feet tall, taller, and they just go stomping on through and can step on houses and kick buildings over, and nothing can harm them except other mechs. So it's how you want to do it, really. Okay. Okay, going through here. Bar one, Vox can get weird at times. Yeah, I've noticed that. Vox is known to be a difficult person to work with. Not always, but it varies. Well, shit, I would still be open to being published through Castilla House or his comics company, but I think it's more up to him. JC, he probably only likes to work with people who don't ask about money. Well, you ask about money, but also we asked about rights because look, I've been at this long enough. You need to hold on to your rights, and you need to make sure that the contract what those terms mean, and you want that in writing. So if you want something clarified, just to make it clear, no publisher should jerk you around on that. I mean, if you find a line in there about rights and you say, okay, can you just put in there that by this you mean this? That shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't upset anyone. And if it does, worry. Like I said, I worked for Archaea, which, supposedly we held on to all our rights, but that didn't stop the company from selling our rights illegally and claiming ownership and acting like they owned everything. Mech fights. I say mech fights are far less squishy. I was wondering why you didn't start the book with a mech fight. I like the scene in the bar, but pulps always start with a bang. It just, I don't know. It just didn't. I wrote what I wrote, I guess. And, I keep flashing in that first chapter, I keep flashing back to this, horrible, horrible battle on Venus. So I figured chapter 2, we'll get straight to the action and I'll show you what happened. And so that's what I'm writing. I'd say switch a quarter of an hour to 10 minutes so you can avoid the 10 minutes twice. Not a bad idea, yeah. Well, the Yu-Gi-Oh cards thing was because of you guys. One of you guys said that the only time you'd ever heard of Charge of the Light Brigade was that it was a Yu-Gi-Oh card. So I figured it'd be funny if the Bezos AI search engine always tried to sell you Yu-Gi-Oh cards when you looked up Charge of the Light Brigade. Oh, so it was one of the first to use telegraph, which caused communication misunderstandings. Going through here. Is Super Robot just like is Super Robot just not like your thing? I keep getting the feeling you like a lot of your action grounded. Don't get me wrong, Super Robot can be a hell of a lot of fun. It's a lot more like superheroes, just it's a robot instead. No, but I enjoy Super Robot. I thought, what is it? Mazinga Z is great stuff. But for my own writing, it's just the way I'm wired. I kind of need to know how everything works and kind of keep it grounded in reality to a degree. I'm probably making more work and trouble for me than is necessary, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of like I like the gritty dirt under your fingernails kind of combat. I like the idea of being able to narrate through the scenes of okay, well, this is how we do this. When I wrote Titanium Rain, you'd think it would be boring, but it isn't. Writing a scene of just getting the jet ready for takeoff, the pilot in the cockpit powering everything up, is just talking about going through the checks, firing up the engine, rolling the plane out. It builds tension, and that sense of realism really does something, and I enjoyed it. Talking about what it was really, what it really takes to dodge a missile and the dangers of it. And I guess in unrealistic, more unrealistic combat, you don't really have that. It's either it hits you or it doesn't. Kind of like in action movies, you can take a hit and just keep going. Where in real combat, you get hit in that bulletproof vest, and it's like you're being hit by a truck, and you're on the ground, and you're about ready to puke. I don't know. It's just what I enjoy. So the make and use of the machine determines the make and use of the fight. Absolutely, Marty. Form follows function, or function follows form. And if you want to do kind of like BattleTech type stuff, which is pseudo realistic but not really, go right ahead. Yeah, I mean, they're walking towers of death, or like I said, I'm kind of making these function more like Patlabor. And those were definitely not indestructible bots. BattleTech pegs average mech height at around 10 meters, so 30 to 40 feet. Freedom in freedom units, still huge, but less absurd than video games. Yeah. I mean, it's chapter 2 when you get into the action. You do get a good picture of the universe. Maybe I'll move that battle. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. There is actually a battle that's in the introduction to the story, in a sense, to build setting that I did not include. And I don't know. We'll see what you guys think. Maybe I should post that as well to show what the first, I guess, what 2 pages read like. One of the big things that came out of the screw-ups of the Crimean War was weather forecasts. They lost so many ships despite the... Hello, finally just got home from work and thus can actually type rather than just listen quietly and yell angrily. Oh, what were you yelling about, dude? What got you yelling? I want to know. Okay, audience. So I read you a rough draft of the battle scene from the beginning of chapter 2. Granted, my oratory skills aren't great, but how did that come across to you? Did anything come across as confusing? Did anything to you really stand out as what the fuck was that? Anything where it's like that was a rough transition? Just I want to know. George says his brain froze. I know the feeling, my man. I know the feeling. Sometimes you just want to put electrodes to your head and shock your brain back into functioning, right? And strangely, everyone went silent. Oh, it sounded good, Yang. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I put a lot of thought into that. I mean, with the bar scene, it was like I just kind of sat down and whatever came. And then I polished it up afterwards. I realized having to write the battle scene, I really needed to think this through. I actually did buy a book on small unit tactics so that I could get terminology correct. And that might sound a bit overkill. Why do you need to get terminology correct? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. It doesn't have to do with necessarily being a perfectionist or being 100% accurate. As a writer, you need words to explain things. And often, if you look into what you're trying to describe, well, like in small unit military tactics, they've already got a whole vocabulary set up to explain these things. So someone's done the work for you. You find out what the vocabulary is, makes it that much easier for you to explain, and it adds an air of realism. And that really is something I think people overlook, is that often these subcultures or various military units, techniques, methods, all have lingo already to make the explanations easy to understand and brief to say. It came across as a perfect blend of technical and layman's terms. On the other hand, too much tech talk can make people's eyes glaze over. Exactly, and that's what I wanted to avoid, was making the eyes glaze over. Because, yeah, I will say that from time to time you'll get some of this military fiction where you don't need 3 pages of, what various formations mean. So yeah, I'm trying to ride that fine line. Whereas on the other hand, you look at, I'll use BattleTech as the example. BattleTech rarely uses a lot of military terms. They'll use game terms instead to describe what's going on. The other advantage to BattleTech, and this was one thing I realized, I'm trying in this section to essentially get across to the reader how these mechs operate, what they're like, what they're used for, what their strengths and weaknesses are, kind of set up the rules without them realizing I'm setting up the rules. Make it seem like I'm just describing a battle, not essentially doing some heavy exposition without them noticing. Whereas BattleTech doesn't have to do that. It's already assumed every person reading that book knows what a battle master looks like, knows what a Spartan looks like, knows what what were they? A hunchback looks like. It already assumes you know what a PPC and an SRM5 is. So you don't have to explain any of that. And that makes life a lot easier on the writer. All the rules are already set up, and the audience is already overeducated on what those things are and how they work. And let me tell you, that is such an advantage. It's just like those Star Wars books. It's such an advantage that every person reading it knows what a TIE fighter and an X-Wing look like. Speaking of mechs, do you have a favorite Power Ranger? You know what? Power Rangers was just slightly after my time. By the time Power Rangers was a thing, I was too old for it, so I didn't really watch it. I just remember seeing the Zords and thinking, yeah, that kind of reminds me of Voltron, which as a kid, the Lion Voltron was like, I was obsessed with those. Although I would say at the top of my list, nothing tops the Valkyrie from Robotech or Macross. That's going to remain my favorite. Okay. What about you? I mean, do you got favorites? Wow, I got 20 people in the audience, and you guys aren't talky for a change. Usually you guys are like total peanut gallery. Actually, I popped on the air because I hit that point in writing where my head really hurt. It's a shame they never came out with the robots that turned into the bigger Voltron. The three robots that merged into one robot. The third Voltron. Yeah, I mean that was kind of weird that they never did that. Apparently, in some countries it did get released, just not here. It literally went to get peanuts. Grandizer is your favorite mecha to Weldy? Voltron, Series 3, yeah. Yeah, I never saw the cartoon other than a few clips. And I remember the toys being sold, but yeah, when I saw the toys, I was like, what the hell are these? I did think that the vehicle Voltron looked cool in robot mode, but frankly, my problem with the vehicle Voltron was that most of the vehicles looked like bricks. I mean, a few of them actually looked like something, but most of those vehicles in the cartoon looked like flying bricks. And it was like they had the air team, the water team, and the ground team. But it was like, if the ground team and the water team can both fly, and if the water team can also roll, what's the point of having the air and ground team if the water team can do all three? It didn't make a lot of sense. course, they were also supposed to be a rugby team, so who knows? UFO, Robo, Grendizer, Zoids. Zoids looked cool, but again, the Zoids I remember, I was really, really little, and the Zoids were very different than the ones that came out later that you guys watched on TV, which looked really damn cool. The Zoids that got turned into shows, I again, little past I was at that point, I wasn't really watching that stuff, so no idea what it was about or which was which. But I will say the Zoids always looked very, very cool. Um, I'm borderline obsessed with Zoids, yet never could get into the mech shows of that time for some reason. My favorite mechs come from G Gundam, but my favorite Megazord is actually Lord Zed's Zord, Serpentera. That thing can destroy planets. Sadly, not very fuel efficient. Gundam G. Let me look that one up. Yeah, the Gundam I was introduced was the Gundam Wing series, which had great designs, but a troubled script and was kind of based on the premise of a boy band. Oh, Gundam G is the one that had all the really insane designs where it was the Fighting League. Oh, okay. Or am I wrong on that? I don't know. Geez, whatever. I'm looking up Gundam G, and they're all. It's nothing's clear. Uh, Whatever. I don't know. But yeah, my introduction to Gundam was Gundam Wing, and if you want to get Kat started on something, get her started on Gundam Wing. When it comes to not walking statues like the Scope Dog from Armored Votams, yeah, I did like the Votams. Again, that would be another influence. Gundam G, where everyone is an absurd national stereotype, and it's awesome. Absolutely. Was it the Dutch one? Was a windmill? Windmill? Americans were introduced with Wing. I got introduced with Gundam Seed, and it sucked. Luckily, I saw better ones later. Turn A Gundam had a bunch of mecha designs by Sid Mead. Really? Oh wait, I've seen those. Yeah, I had wondered where those drawings had come from in the Sid Mead book. What that was for. I didn't get much into mechs until I played the BattleTech game on Xbox. You know, except for the final boss in that game, that game was pretty good. I thought the final boss was goofy as hell. But other than that, yeah, that game was quite enjoyable. Okay, yeah, I just got to share this because it's too damn funny. Speaking of ethnic stereotype Gundams, here we go. Dutch Gundams. Okay. Yes, one Gundam actually did have a horse. I remember that. Gundam Ball Z. Neither Gundam. Yeah, it looks like a meme, but it really was from the show. But let's see. Oh shit, I've been on for about an hour. Well, unless you guys wanted me to bring up something else, I'm kind of I think what Tequila Gundam. Yes, it's called that. I'm looking that up. Holy shit. Okay, that's too damn funny. Let me get a good picture of that I can share. God, I fucking hate these WebP files, man. You can't share them. So who the hell thought that was a good idea? I don't know. I may not be able to. Why are all the Gundam files WebP? Okay, there we go. There we go. Let's share this. This is special. The Mexican Gundam. Tequila Gundam. And you said there are machine guns in the sombrero. Okay. Also, Kira Yamato is boring and annoying. I use Bing because Google Image sucks like that. Yeah, it sucks very much so. You know, I miss Toonami when it was good. Toonami and Adult Swim used to be fucking awesome. And yeah, I don't really need to get into why things suck, but there was a time in which Cartoon Network was just amazing to watch. And you know, I got to see so much cool shit and was exposed to so many cool things because of you know what Cartoon Network was doing at the time. Wait, so Tequila Gundam also has 6 shooters? Well, I'd share the file, but once again, I can't, so whatever. Well, as I said, I'm kind of running down here, so unless you guys have anything else you want me to bring up very quickly, I think I'm going to be done. You know, Mexicans would love that. I bet they would. Yeah, I mean, Mexicans seem to have a very, very good sense of humor about their culture. It's only the activists in this country that take all the fun out of it. Draco, before you go, there was something I wanted to know. Could you make a lighthearted cyberpunk story, and what would that entail? Sure you could. You just take the elements of cyberpunk, the you know, gritty street level technology in the hands of drifters, criminals, detectives, the outcasts of society, all the weird subcultures. You take all of that and you tell a lighthearted story. There are plenty of Judge Dredd stories that would fall into that category, for instance. I don't know if it would count as lighthearted, but definitely the satire of Demolition Man fits without a shadow of a doubt. And the Total Recall movie isn't exactly what I would call serious. I mean, it's not lighthearted per se, but it's not really a deep movie. It's just fun. Let's see. Lighthearted. I'm trying to think if there's any specific story I could throw at you that you could go read right this minute. But really, it just matters on what kind of story you want to tell. I mean, the beginning starts with, well, what's the plot? What's the conflict? What is it that you're wanting to tackle? Keep in mind, again, cyberpunk is deeply immersed in all these different subcultures going at fast forward in a culture that's just overloaded with technology and information technology. And that's the driving force. And you can take that in all sorts of directions. I mean, you want funny, shit, you could do something based on Tide Pods. Think about that. There's an example. Dumb kids eating Tide Pods because they saw someone on the internet do it. That's an example. Another example would be, I remember there was a cyberpunk story. I don't remember who wrote it in the 80s, in which a government had funded a heavy metal band that was pro-nuclear war to try and get kids, get the youth interested and in support of nuclear weapons and the arms industry. That's funny. It's satirical, but it's funny. So does that kind of give you a sense of what I mean by it can be funny? Let's see. Any subculture has its peculiarities, and that's a good starting point. That is very much a good starting point. People doing something retarded on a dare, for instance. There you go. There's a story right there. At the end of the day, it's setting. I know there's something, and it's just not coming to mind. One of the things in cyberpunk is there's always been a kind of a grim battlefield humor to it. At the beginning of the film Hardwired, for instance, there's the radio DJ played by Iggy Pop just going on about the news in this setting, and it's hilarious. Or you think about the first RoboCop film, and you had all the TV commercials, which were just absurdist to the nth degree. Max Headroom's another one. The Max Headroom show definitely had its episodes that were that were lighthearted and just satirically funny. One that I remember that was really, really hilarious was, I think, called Wackets. And the plot was this one network had this TV show that was just thoroughly retarded. I mean, it was dumb as shit. And it was getting the best ratings. Everyone was watching it. Everyone was obsessed with it. And all the other networks are just trying to figure out, why are people watching this? And the show was nothing but people running and jumping on couch cushions. That was the entire show. And it finally turns out that the reason people are watching it is that there's a addictive signal in it that's, once people turn the show on, they can't turn it off. But the show itself and all the people reacting to the show and everything surrounding the show was fucking hilarious. Another one of the Max Headroom episodes that was kind of funny was there was an episode in which a character named Blank Reg got arrested for, it was hacking television broadcast signals. And he was innocent, but anyway, he is falsely charged. And I forget how, but his trial ends up on TV. It's telecourt, in which essentially this was predicted reality television, really. His trial was a game show, and the judge was a game show host, and various things. Well, let's spin the wheel and see what. Well, do you get an objection, or do you get a stay of execution? Spin the wheel. And I mean, it could be very dark, but the way it was portrayed was fucking hilarious. Very satirical. It wasn't lighthearted, but again, you could make it lighthearted. The Running Man, that show, or that movie, the show was funny. That movie was always, I think, a failed, poorly realized. That movie really could have been great, but the editing was screwed up and the director didn't know what they were doing. The studio wanted to change what it was about at the 11th hour. Originally, it was far more satirical, and then they wanted it to be more of a dumb action film, and it just, in the end, came out confused. Does that answer the question? Tall Geese. Yeah, that's one of Kat's favorites. She built a model of that, although her favorite is Death Scythe. I was thinking of writing a cyberpunk story, but I have action movie sensibilities. So there's nothing wrong with that, and I love heroism. There's nothing wrong with that. I love tech, but not gritty realism, just good guys versus bad guys. Well, that's fine too. I mean, the idea that everyone in cyberpunk is a bad guy is again a misnomer, and I don't know, this idea of moral gray areas that came later. I mean, sure, there were moral gray areas all the time in cyberpunk originally, but there were also stories where there were very clear heroes and very clear villains. um, Case in point, RoboCop. There's no question. The good guys are really good and the bad guys are really, really bad. Same thing with Max Headroom. There was no question about who was good and who was bad. RoboCop, that's not a very realistic film, though. That is definitely over the top action. Total Recall, they wouldn't really call that realistic action either. So this again, yeah, the idea that they all have to be really dark and gritty is total bullshit. Total fucking bullshit. There was plenty of fun to be had. Well, let's see what you guys are saying. Do you remember the premise? Do you remember what premise of Max Headroom was about? Like, what was the reporter who became... Well, shit, I've got the series on DVD. It's one of my favorites. It was a huge influence on me as a writer and just as a creator in general. As a child, I was obsessed with that show. And when it finally came out on Blu-ray or DVD, I was just thrilled. The premise. Okay, the original premise was that in the future, the only growth market is television. Television is the opiate of the masses. In a world where there is massive unemployment and plenty of people are living on the government dole, and society is in decline, television is like vital. Everyone's sitting home watching TV. Everyone's obsessed with TV. Everything revolves around television. That's their life. That's what they live through. And anyway, there's this thing where people start blowing up. And Edison Carter, this journalist from the Network 23, and his show was, he was the top rated journalist for his What I Want to Know show. And he was a journalist who would go out on the scene and investigate personally and narrate. And, it was kind of action reporter. And he was reporting on a number of cases where people were mysteriously blowing up in their living rooms. And the stories were starting to get pulled. And Edison's like, well, why is this story getting pulled? Why, since when did anyone care about somebody dying in their living room randomly? And as he starts digging, he starts to find out that the network he works for, Network 23, has developed a new ad technology that compacts commercials into, 10 seconds? Or was it 15 seconds? It was very brief, so that people didn't leave the they didn't give people time to change the channel, was what it was that the ads ran so quickly that it didn't give the audience time to switch channels. But the problem is that people who were obese, often the overstimulation of the brain neurons would cause all the body neurons to fire at once and cause spontaneous human combustion. And so essentially, the commercials were killing people. And Edison uncovers it. I'm not going to get into it, but he gets caught uncovering this conspiracy. He's got the evidence on a tape. He's trying to escape the building, and as he's fleeing on a motorcycle, I don't need to get into it. Basically, there was kind of a hacker war of they were trying to control the building as he escapes. He bashes his head against a barrier and is knocked out, and his body's carried off, and the company, the corporation, has him. And they're like, shit, what do we do? Our top reporter has just gone missing. how do we fix this? And their tech guy, this genius kid who's an autist, says, well, we can download his brain and simulate him and get him to say whatever we want. And so they do that, except it doesn't work perfectly. Instead, it's all glitchy and weird, and it really only captures his id. It doesn't capture all of Edison. It only captures his, id side of his personality. And he's uncontrollable, and he's always joking, doesn't take anything seriously. And they get really pissed. The corporate exec gets pissed off and tosses it away. And it gets into the hands of, well, you know what? I'll stop here. I don't need to explain anymore. You can find it on YouTube probably. But essentially what happens is that Edison Carter comes back, but now they've got that copy of his brain, Max Headroom. And Max is a ROM construct of Edison, but only one part of his personality. And so that was one element of the show. In every episode, Edison's digging into some sort of news story or something happens, and Max Headroom always comes into the plot some way or another, usually hacking or doing something, or he's a plot complication. I mean, there's one episode in which Max Headroom goes nuts and just decides to take over Network 23's broadcast and ramble for hours and hours straight. And he starts ripping on their advertisers, and they want to get him off the air because he's ripping on the products that are advertising, until they realize, and my God, was this not accurate when it came to Generation X. They found that the more Max Headroom made fun of the products, the more the audience liked them, and the more the audience would pay attention and buy the products. And ironically, in the 90s, advertisers figured out with Gen X that if they made nonsensical commercials, we'd watch them, or if they actually ripped on their own product, we'd pay attention and want them more, which was kind of ironic. But yeah, that was basically the idea, was that he was a copy of Edison Carter, but it only copied his id. It wasn't his full personality, and they could only generate him from the neck or from the chest up. He didn't have arms or legs. It took too much computing power. Let's see. At least in the pilot. Well, there was the pilot, and then there was the first episode of the TV show, which are essentially the same plot, but then also a little different. I think the story of the pilot's a bit better. The first episode, on the other hand, is produced better and even more entertaining. But after you get past that first episode, it gets really good. So Cyberpunk can be morally black and white. Thank you. It takes a lot. Oh yeah, it can be very morally black and white. In fact, that was one of the enjoyable things about Max Headroom, was so many of the characters were over the top. You could say that about RoboCop too, but yeah, I mean, yeah, some of the villains were just like villainous beyond all recognition, and I think the funniest one was again the show Wackets. That episode, the guy that comes up with it, was played by Bill Maher, and Bill Maher was playing a scumbag producer. He was playing himself. He didn't have to try. Okay, going through your comments. He was looking into the origin of blipverts. Blipverts were advertisements that lasted 5 seconds. You know, I used to have a blipvert in memory here. I don't have it anymore. Never mind. Yeah, actually, a lot of the videos I use have blipverts cut into them, by the way. Let's see. Where are they? Give me a second. I don't know. I better not play it right now. Some of the videos I run have segments of the Blipvert shoved into it, including the Three's Company episode opening. Some of the footage, like where it says "place ad here." Ah, fuck it, I'll play it.
Coming up.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids.
So for those of you who paid attention, you can see it says Blipvert video in there, and then at the end where you get the burst of static and it says place ad here. That is from the footage of the Blipvert in the Max Headroom episode. Yes, I have a deep love of that program. Max Headroom's actors. Oh yeah, was it Shepard? I have a cyberpunk setting idea where the government keeps people on Earth by using Kessler syndrome as an excuse. In reality, they just want to leave people leaving Earth, keep people. That's a good idea. That's a great premise. I find the most amusing thing to me about these days is I find myself glaring at the overly long YouTube ads and wishing that they were Blipverts instead. I agree. I thoroughly agree. And the other thing about Max Headroom was that the shows, one of the gags was that all the shows were just moronic as fuck. And so that was always the joke was people would be watching this stuff but now you see what people are watching. It's like they didn't go far enough. They absolutely did not go far enough. The shows aren't dumb enough. Okay, going through Zigzag. Why do Zigzag burgers come in plastic wrappers? Because some of the plastic rubs off the burger and effectively doubling the nutritional value. That was a Max Headroom line. Pepsi Man versus Kool-Aid Man. Hell yeah. I can't get behind RoboCop 2. That movie kind of made me ill. I wish that they had let what is it? Was his name Naha or Ed Neumeyer? I wish they had let him do what he wanted to do with the sequel. Him and oh God, why is my brain not working? It was Paul Verhoeven and Ed Niemeyer had a script and idea for the second film, and the studio didn't want to do it. They wanted RoboCop 2, and I really did not like RoboCop 2, and 3 just needs to die. I thought RoboCop 2 really missed the point. And Frank Miller, oh God, somebody should have hit Frank Miller for that. But the original idea that the writer and director wanted to do was that, in fact, they jump ahead by, I think, 50 or 100 years, and the world has become a lot more like Judge Dredd, and there aren't nations anymore. There are corporations within self-contained arcologies, and RoboCop's become a pawn between warring nations. You read the comic version of RoboCop 2, and it was pretty meh. I don't know why they. I mean, actually, I do know why they chose him to script it, but I don't know why they just didn't stick with the original director and writer. It's just why. Yeah, RoboCop 3 was absolute garbage. Didn't someone hack a TV news station showing a video of someone dressed as Max? Yes, they did. And he was drinking a Pepsi instead of a Coke, and then he bent over and had his ass spanked with a fly swatter. I would love to watch Max Headroom with you guys. Of course, we'd get copyright strikes unless you all own the DVDs or could stream it. But sure, I'd do a watch along. I trust me. I have a bit of an obsession with that show, or maybe more than a bit of an obsession. They killed off Lewis in 3. I don't count 2 or 3 as canon, in my opinion. Seriously, I don't. Although I do have an idea of how I would bring, how I would do a sequel to the original RoboCop. The way I would do it is I would keep it in real time. I would have it current day, except in their world. I'd have it that Lewis is now the police chief of that precinct, and that RoboCop at some point in his run or operation had been critically injured, or there had been some sort of like a terrorist attack where he'd gotten blown up, and everyone thought he was dead. And I would even have it that they were celebrating a certain anniversary of RoboCop and Detroit's savior, and have the unveiling of the statue that really does exist, and then have it that new management takes over OCP, and as they're going through their warehouses, they actually find that RoboCop isn't dead, that they've been keeping him on ice all these years, and they've been keeping him on ice because, well, he was an uncontrollable element. They didn't like their products to have free will, so they had gotten him out of the way. But this new company that's taken over, or this new ownership, doesn't know that and reactivates him, thinking it will be a great publicity sort of stunt. But I don't know. That's just my thought of how you could bring him back. Yeah, there is a statue of RoboCop in Detroit, and it was crowdfunded, no less, which I think is awesome. All right. Well, I've been on for an hour and a half. I'm going to call it an evening, and I don't know. Smoke crack, sniff glue. Don't watch RoboCop 3.